Welcome to your introduction to German. This is going to be one of the coolest introductions to a language you've ever heard. Unless you don't like my personality, in which case my main selling point is moot. A1 refers to the first stage of the European reference system for language learning. So it's one of six. It goes A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. And C2 is almost native level. So we're starting at the very beginning here at A1. A little bit about me. I'm a native English speaker. My name is Matthew Blunt, and I learned German within the last 3.5, 4 years. A little less than 4 years. I moved to Germany, so I got a lot of practice in a short period of time, and it's kind of cold right here in Germany at the moment, and I'm wearing a hat. You'll be mostly looking at the slides, so it doesn't really matter. One other thing to say before we really start, because it's the first in a series, I don't expect this to be completely comprehensive, but I think in its own way it is comprehensive. It will really help you as a supplementary resource because it comes at this all from a bit of a different angle than your average course. So let's get started. I've prioritized our learning a little bit differently than your average language learning course. So we're going to start with the alphabet, and we're not going to start with some list of vocabulary or conjugation tables. Oh my God. So the alphabet is the basis of everything. It goes without saying almost. And then we're going to talk about the magic words. Hopefully you know what those are. And cognate sentences are a fun way to start because you will already recognize the sentence. You'll know what it means, essentially, without having learned a single drop of German. Cognates are words which are nearly identical or identical between languages. And we're using whole sentences here, so you can just get an idea of what German is like from the very beginning. And then we'll talk about the numbers, which is another important feature, almost as important as the letters. And just break down a couple of observations you'll probably already have made about word order from the examples used for the other bullet points. And then we're going to talk about pronunciation. The most important tool you have in expressing yourself is making yourself understandable. And pronunciation is the system we use to make ourselves understandable. And then we'll end it, the first of many of these videos, with some useful sentences you can take out into the world. And if you're going to memorize anything, I suggest you use sentences as your memorization tools because they have context, they have more than one word, and you can actually use them, and they're standalone entities. They're standalone tools. A word itself is not really too useful. So the alphabet, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, is very familiar. Why it is in the order it is, I don't know, but thank God it is the same order in German. So I broke down some of the hardest letters, and right before we start, I'm just going to recite the alphabet for you in German, and then we'll talk about some of these big differences: the R, the V, the W, the Y or Ypsilon, and the Z or the Z or the Z, depending on where you're from in England or Australia. Sometimes people can't agree. What is this last letter called? A, B, C, D. Wow, I should really warm up my voice. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y und Z. Jetzt kennst du das Alphabet. Good thing I have the lyrics right in front of me. My goodness. Okay, so these are all kind of towards the end of the alphabet, and I would definitely say this is the hardest group of letters. So the first letter, R, and I've written it in its German pronunciation of its name on the right side, R, R. But you hear that R doesn't sound like air, it's R. And this is a letter that takes practice. You have to push the air up from your stomach more to really relax the back of your throat. You have to relax the back of the throat, and at the same time, push air through it to get it to make this kind of sound. And it's easier at the end of a word because it's just kind of like the British sound. We'll talk more about that in the pronunciation section, but at the beginning of a word or at the beginning of a syllable, it's this R sound. And it's different than in Spanish where you kind of use the tip of your tongue with that R thing. It's not that. It's not with the tongue. The tongue is not involved. The V is pronounced fow, so it can be confusing. It's actually an F sound. Just have to remember that. And then the W actually has a V sound. It's V. So R, V, V. And with Y, it's called ypsilon, and it makes a sound kind of like U or Oi. Yeah, so you just have to watch out for that. And then Z, it's a real tricky one because you think you know Z really well. I thought I knew Z like the back of my hand, or Z as it may be, depending on where you are. In German, it doesn't make this Z sound really. It's especially at the beginning of a word or beginning of a syllable, it's a t, t, t. And we'll see that. Some of the numbers, you'll see it. So we'll just keep going now. There are a couple of extra letters in the alphabet. I know, I told you it was the same alphabet. It is, but plus a couple of extra letters. So A, O, and U have a version with 2 dots over them, known as umlauts. And what it represents is, it's saving you writing A, E is represented by this umlaut A, or E. And O, E is represented by this umlaut O, or Ö. And U, E is represented by U, or umlaut U. But don't call it umlaut. This is really just the only time we're ever going to use that. We're going to call them E, Ö, and U. Okay? So those probably all sound the exact same to you. It's fine. We'll figure it out. We will figure it out, I promise. And you'll notice another S next to the S. And that represents 2 S's together. So you may call it the double S in English. In German, this might be your very first cognate, Doppel S. Or sometimes it's also referred to as Scharf S. And we'll talk about the rules about that later. I just want you to know the alphabet. And because there are a couple of extra letters, I do think it's fair to start out in there. So you now know some fun facts about the German alphabet. We'll go more into detail with the pronunciation section. So now that you know the alphabet, I want to ask you if you know how to pronounce this German manufacturer's name. The second largest manufacturer of automobiles. VW. VW. Volkswagen. VW. You got it. The bug, the beetle, however you like to say it. The bus, if you're a hippie. VW. Now let's talk about the magic words. Please and thank you. So, the biggest and boldest here, bitteschön and dankeschön, are really the most common and most polite versions. Combination of highest ranking if you rank them on both their frequency of use and their politeness. And you notice both have this schön at the end. Schön means beautiful. It is the word for nice things. If you walk in and you're like, oh, this is a really nice apartment. Schön. Oh, wow, this is a really nice restaurant. Schön. So that's beautiful. That's nice. When you add it to bitte, then you're just making it more nice. And I wrote here pretty please because ultimately that is a word for word translation. You'll notice though the word order is a little bit different. And thank you kindly is the kind of, you can't say anything like pretty thank you in English, but dankeschön, this is extremely common. And I have some more options down below. You can just check them out as you like. Basically, bitte is please, danke is thank you, and bitteschön is the more formal way to say it, and danke is more like thanks. Danke literally means I thank. I thank. That's what the E at the end means. The E is referring to you. I thank is ich danke. And in English, you rarely say I thank you. but you could, and that is technically what thank you is supposed to mean. It just has fallen off because it sounds too formal for English speakers, apparently. Bitte literally means to ask for something or to plead, and I put in here, I bid you, because it's a formal, sort of archaic form of asking someone to do something. We still see it in some fixed expressions in English, like have someone do someone else's bidding. But for me, it always helps if I kind of recognize it from somewhere and I think about it. I'm like, why does bitte kind of sound like it should be please? And I think about it and I think, oh yeah, I bid you, please. I bid, do your bidding. Bidding is kind of a request. And so that word asking is essentially please. Please, and then you add schön on there because that's polite. So just to break it down, please is bitte, thanks is danke. And it's better to be more polite as long as the situation allows for it. If it's a very casual situation, you might be overdoing it. But the point is, you need to know bitte, danke. And you need to know bitte schön and danke schön. And so now you've come into your first contact with an umlaut here. Do as I say, not as I do. I don't know what to tell you. Like you gotta. We'll work on this, but this pronunciation here, that could be tricky. Maybe you just say bitte until you can practice that and you get good at it. What I want you to practice though is not just the pronunciation. I want you to really feel it. I want you to think about how it would feel to say this when you were really grateful. Danke. I don't want you just to say danke, danke, danke over and over again. I want you to really think about it. How do I feel about it? How do I feel when I say it? When I say thank you, when I really, really, really needed this person's help and they helped me and I have to thank them from the bottom of my heart. How does that sound? And then try and keep hold of the emotion and say danke. Same with please. Do this, and this will help you internalize the language and really, really feel the language, and it will really change your relationship to what you're learning. It's not enough just to say please and thank you. You do need to know yes and no. So these are important is not a strong enough word to describe yes and no. These are the binary words of our language where we really can't get on without them. So, ja, that's J is a very soft sound, just like the Y, ja. So it's kind of like, we say ja. If you actually listen to people from Boston, they say ja all the time. Yeah, it's going to snow like 20 centimeters. No, they don't even say centimeters. They say inches. Oh my God. Anyway, so 9. That is no. 9. Essentially the number 9. 9. Thanks. 9. Danke. All right, now let's have some fun doing some cognate sentences. This is real speech, real sentences, and you should really see the similarities. If you have a bit of a imagination, you can see how these are related. So the first sentence is, Ich muss mein Bett machen. Ich muss mein Bett machen. I must make my bed. Not a particularly American formulation. Americans would say, I have to make my bed. But a British person might say, I must make my bed. I must make my bed. So in German, it's I must make my bed. Ich muss mein Bett machen. And we'll talk about the word order, but you see, I must my bed make. This is the only one of these cognates where you see a little bit of a different word order. And the reason for that is, in case you're curious, you already had one verb, and this verb is always here. So you have I must took this place, and you don't put it again. Like Spanish, actually, I think you just put it right next to must here again. So it would be must, make. But in German, that second one always comes at the end. So, the sun shines. Die Sonne scheint. And this could also be translated as the sun is shining, because in German there's no distinction between this ing infinitive, aka the gerund infinitive, the sun is shining and the sun shines. It's the present tense and it is infinite. The sun shines. Die Sonne scheint. Die Sonne scheint. Die Sonne. Yeah. Die is the, but you're going to notice on the next sentence we have the and we have a different word. Das Papier ist hier. The paper is here. And you also notice the similarity between is and ist. Yep. Same meaning too. Is. So why is das different than die? This has to do with the German genders, and we're going to have to learn those basically by heart. Point being, this is a neutral noun, das Papier. And this is a feminine noun, the sun. And usually when it ends in E, it's a feminine noun. We'll see that again. Mein Computer ist kaputt. My computer is kaputt. I mean, usually you would say is broken, but I figured I'd throw in the kaputt because why not? I mean, one for one translation here. So, die Katze ist braun. The cat is brown. So once again, we have a feminine noun, die Katze, and you can see this feminine noun also ends in E. And I wanted to put in one more. I guess I forgot it, or maybe it got cut off. I'm not sure, but I wanted to put in das Wetter ist wunderbar. Das Wetter ist wunderbar. And I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that. What do you think that means? It means the weather is wonderful. Das Wetter ist wunderbar. And you'll notice that it's also das. That's because Wetter, weather, is also a neutral noun. Wunderbar is wonderful. Numbers. Let's just work on the pronunciation because I think the number order is the same. Okay. Eins. Now, if you pronounce the word I and then z, eins, I, like your eyeball, it rhymes with lines and signs. Eins. You notice that S makes a Z sound. Just as I mentioned, this S can appear to be the same, but it's not. That's why I mentioned it with the alphabet. It can be a tricky letter. Eins. Eins. Zwei. And now Z is coming up here. It's another tricky one because you'd think it's zwei, but it's actually got a T sound at the very beginning. T. S. Ts. V. Ts. And then V sound with the W. Zwei. Zwei. Rhymes with cry, fly, die. Same as eins. Now, for the third letter, we have to do the R. And the R can be hard at the beginning, but all I can emphasize here is please relax your throat. And the more you relax it, the easier it is. So, drei. And I put a little subscript G next to the R because it kind of gets down there. It's kind of like this guttural sound, like it feels a lot better than that. So, drei. Drei. Sometimes, because zwei and drei sound the same, you might hear zwo. Actually, I guess I should do a Strich. Zwo. Because drei sounds very much like zwei sometimes, if it's loud and you're yelling or whatever on a construction site or something. So say zwei and then drei. You don't have to emphasize the R so much, but if you were trying to really enunciate it, you would probably just say zwo and drei. Drei. You'd really, really hang on that R because zwei doesn't have an R. So, vier. This rhymes with Leah and Mia. And remember, the V has an F sound. Fünf. This is our second encounter with an umlaut. Fünf. Ü, this U, which is kind of like a U or U and an E. Remember, UE is essentially the same exact thing as Ü. I've spelled it here with 2 O's and then 2 subscript E's. And then the unf. Kind of rhymes with oomph. Fünf. The way you make this sound is you put your mouth in the shape of moon. Moon. Tune. Hold your lips like this. Ooh. Ooh. Now, keep that shape. Keep the shape. Keep the shape. Make the E sound. Ew. Perfect. You got it. So, the next letter is Zex. Zex. Interestingly, this CH does not make the same sound as this CH here. This is the only time I really know. Actually, there's one other word I can think of. It's a fish. But usually it makes a different sound. But so this is really just an X sound. It sounds the exact same as sex, except it's got a Z-ish sound at the beginning. You could also rhyme it with Tex, if Tex were a real word. But you know, you could call someone from Texas Tex if you wanted to, if you were a friendly person and you wouldn't take offense. Number 7, sieben. Wait a second. Did I say sieben or sieben? Sieben. Sieben. It rhymes with Bieben, like when you're listening to Justin Bieber. Bieben, sieben. Remember, it starts with a Z sound. If you do start it with an S sound, I shouldn't tell you this in the first lesson, but no one's going to mind. It's fine. Sieben. Okay, acht. This is the first encounter with CH, which is a different sound than we've ever seen. It does not exist in English. There's only one word I know in English, which is, it's like Loch Ness. You know Loch Ness Monster? Nessie the Loch Ness Monster? Loch. That's like a Scottish word, I think. So this CH here, it's kind of a different sound, but it feels good, actually. It feels really good. So what you do is you slide the air over the back of your tongue. You raise the back of your tongue kind of higher up in your mouth. It's not shh is through the front of your teeth. Is through the back of your throat, and then is in between the two, up above the back of your tongue, like in the area of your back teeth, maybe your molars, up by the roof of your mouth. It's called an uvular fricative. That's your uvular palate back there. You have like a hard palate up near your teeth. Behind that, you have this kind of like middle soft palate. That's the uvular palate. And then way back is totally soft. That's the soft palate. But the uvular fricative goes through that middle area. Acht, 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 acht. Okay. Neun. Rhymes with boin. Boin. Boin is I don't know, it's a name, but Boyne also, I don't know. Boyne owns like 100 ski areas. They own Big Sky, Montana. They own Loon Mountain. They're a huge resort company, Boyne. So, neun. Neun. Zehn. Zehn. Rhymes with cane or lane, slain, bane. Bane of my existence. Zehn. T-S sound. Zehn. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. We got to get a lot done still. Word order. Word order. What is the right order? What is really backwards and what is forwards? Pretty please or please pretty? Why does please pretty sound so weird? Because we've never heard it before. Ultimately, it makes no difference to the brain. So, ich muss mein Bett machen. I must make my bed. A key thing to note here, this is really, really critical when it comes to German grammar, is this right here. Ich muss, and then at the end of the sentence comes machen. In English, I must make, always right next to each other. So if you consider this white here as position 1, this green here as position 2, muss must always be in position 2. You can never make this sentence in English, but in German, it's perfectly fine. Mein Bett muss ich machen. So this white is position 1. This green is position 2. This white is position 3. Main thing is this always has to be in position 2. Always. Got a couple more things on word order. Die Sonne scheint. Perfectly. Die Sonne, the sun is shining or shines. Sun shines. The sun is not shining. Die Sonne scheint nicht. You throw that nicht onto the end. It would be weird in English to throw the not onto the end. So it's going to feel weird probably when you start speaking German that you're throwing this on the end. Eventually, it won't take long. It will not matter to you at all. You'll have no emotional connection to whether or not this goes here or here. You won't care. I promise you. Ich muss mein Bett nicht machen. I must not make my bed. Really, I don't have to make my bed, but I just wanted to be able to have this not here. So, as you can see, nicht machen. And the reason for this is machen always comes at the end. Always. That means nicht can never come after machen because machen is always at the end. Not just machen, all verbs. Anytime you have two verbs, such as must make or muss machen, you have one conjugated verb and one non-conjugated verb in the infinitive. It comes at the end. Has to come at the end. Always at the end. Always, always, always. That's the second verb, always at the end. If there are three verbs, both come at the end. Nothing can stop it. Nothing can stop it being in position 2. Not even when you throw on not. Not just comes in somewhere else. All right, so now let's really dive into some of this pronunciation and use some of the stuff that we already learned. I want to just spell out for you how to say each letter, and I want you to read through them all in your free time or pause it and read that whole list and just get a feel for pronouncing or singing the alphabet. This is very, very useful. So just take a screenshot of this and then read it out loud. If you don't know how to do a screenshot on Mac, you do Command-Shift-4, and then you can draw a window around whatever you want to take a screenshot of. So what I would do is probably Command-Shift-4 and do like this part of the screen right here. You know what I mean? And then I have a screenshot. There it is. I want to talk about the letters G, J, L, R, S, and V. And R is red even in the table here because it is the most difficult letter for English native speakers, basically. So let's start with G. It's pretty predictable. At the beginning of the word guten, or in the middle of the word morgen, which means good morning, guten Morgen. That's another cognate sentence for you. You recognize this G sound, g. But at the end of a word, like in Tag, sounds a little bit more like a K or CK. Guten Tag. That means good day. Tag means day. Not as much of a cognate, but I mean, T and D are kind of related. Now it looks pretty similar. G is pretty easy, but you could trip up on that. I mean, it's not the biggest deal. It's just a little bit more effort if you're going to say Guten Tag every time. It's a little bit extra work for you. So J makes a Y sound. You're probably already kind of predicting this. You kind of already see these kind of words once in a while in English where J makes a soft sound. So ja is a perfect example. And 99% of the time, J makes a Y sound. I have heard some people, with names like biblical names, a lot of biblical names start with J. I have heard that kind of pronounced with a J sound, like J. But to be honest, I don't know why. I think it's like 50-50. No one really knows which it should be. And some people pronounce it one way. Another person might pronounce the same person's name a different way. So L is another sly devil. I even made it red here. It's kind of like G, but it's more sly. That's why I made it red. You only have to move your tongue about 1.5 centimeters further back. So if you say Berlin, that's the English pronunciation. Now, when you say Berlin, the tongue is touching the teeth. But if you say Berlin, your tongue is going to be on the roof of your mouth. Berlin. Not the roof of your mouth totally, but about 1.5 centimeters further back from your teeth. Right where your palate starts to go up a lot. Like it's kind of flat and then it starts going up towards your brain. That's where you put your tongue. Berlin. Now R. Now, there was an R in Berlin. That wasn't too bad. Bär instead of Bär. Now that's this open kind of soft sound. That's easy enough. And you see that here at the end of a word like fa, or the end of a word like water, Wasser. Fa would be kind of like a command, like drive. Fa, drive. And a Fahrrad is a bike. Rad means a wheel. So Fahrrad is kind of a tricky word. It was tricky for me when I was learning. I think this combination, this soft R and then this trilled R. So R is trilled at the beginning of a word or the beginning of a syllable, like in a Rad or Fahrrad. The combination can be tricky. So my biggest tip for R is really relax the back of your throat. And if you're having trouble, you can't get it to work, lie down on your bed and try it. And put your hands on your stomach. And then press on your stomach while you're trying to pronounce it. Because that extra air force, as long as you relax your throat, will make the trill sound. And then you'll learn how to do that with your diaphragm. R, R, R. It comes very natural to German native speakers. They control that very naturally. They don't even think about it. But it took me about a year to figure that out. Not a year, but about 10 months. So, S makes a Z sound at the beginning of a word, and these are not the right words for that. Spanish and spaghetti. Those for the next slide. Sorry about that. An example would be 6, 6, 6. Or 7, 7. So we already saw them. And that's what that is. 6. So let's go to the next slide. We have some combinations here. These combinations are really, really common and probably unfamiliar. So to start at the top, we have this uvular fricative, the CH. And we don't have that in English unless you count the word loch, which is kind of like, I don't know, how do you pronounce Loch Ness? You probably just call it loch, like with a CK. This sound is kind of like a CK, but instead of stopping the air, you let the air flow over your tongue in the back of your mouth. I've already kind of described it, so I won't dwell on it too long, but this is probably a video in itself if we really want to dive into it. It's very important because this is the word for I, ich, and ich has this sound. And the best way to practice is just find a bunch of words with the sound and just do all of them and focus on that sound. Ich, acht, macht, pracht, lacht. I'm not that masterful at rhyming in German. So we'll go on to the next one. PF. It's a rare thing to see in English where a P and an F sound are together next to one another. It looks kind of like, how am I supposed to do that? So take your time, please. By all means, make your P, take a break, and then make your F. You don't need to try and do it all at once. Take your time and enjoy each consonant as the Germans do. So these 3 words, only one of them is really that relevant for your life, probably. Pfad is pretty good, but Pfand is the deposit. Actually, this will come up a lot. Pfand, if you're in German or a German-speaking country, you probably have to pay a deposit on every bottle you buy. And when you bring it back, you get your money back. You also have a Pfand for a shopping cart because you have to put a coin in to get it. And Pfand, it's everywhere. So Pfad is a path, like a path through the forest or a path in life. And Kopf is your head. Kopf. Kopf. KN, in English, we just use it as a silent K. In German, you pronounce the K, and you're probably like, wait a second, is that even possible? I thought the reason we didn't pronounce the K is because it can't be done. It can be done. You just have to take your time. So the same word for knee in German has the KN, and it's Knie, Knie, Knie. And Nick is not Nick, like the New York Knicks. It's Knick. And a knick is a kink, kind of like if you have a straight line and then it just suddenly juts to one side or up or down. That's a knick. Knickpunkt. Hey, there's another one. That's a KT. Oh, I didn't even have KT in this list. KT is a good list. Right there, Knickpunkt. Knick. Knack. Knack is like crack. Knack. Knack. You could kind of like, I don't know. I guess a glass window could break. You could hear a knack. TZ also pronounce both. So you'll notice a lot of these things are just like two consonants in a row. Platz is a place. Platz. Platz. Tz. Tz. Platz. Place. Could be like a square as well. BST. Papst. Papst. All of them are pronounced, all three somehow. And that's the Pope, the Papst. SP. Now these are important. I would say these are much more important than those other ones. Really. These are key. So SP is pronounced shp, not just SP. It's shp. But in the middle of a word, it is just sp. So at the beginning of a word, it's shp. In the middle of a word, it's normal sp, unless you're in Swabia. But that's why I wrote it here with the capital and with this line here in this direction. So if it's at the beginning of a word, it's shp. And that applies anytime an S is at the beginning of a word with a combination of other letters. So sht, shpr, sht-er. So, I mean, it seems harder than it really is, but Spanish is Spanish. Spaghetti, spaghetti. Stopp, stop. Start, start. Sprung is a jump. Sprache is a language. Sorry. I don't know why I have a speak there. What's a speak? Anyone? Language. And Straße is a street. So let's get on to some practical sentences and end this lesson. This has been quite a lot of information right up front, but I promise you, these are the priorities. I promise if you learn this content, if you listen to this video 3 or 4 times, you're going to have a real head start in your German journey. Now let's end it on a really high note, which is really communicating with people. And if you're going to do any memorization from this video, this is it. This is real communication. This is saying something. So, ich brauche Hilfe. That's a very important sentence. I need help. Ich brauche Hilfe. If you're going to memorize it with really good pronunciation. Ich kann noch nicht Deutsch. I can't speak German yet. Let me break that down for you. Kann nicht is can't. Noch is yet. And when you say, ich kann noch nicht Deutsch, you're going to make a really good impression on whoever you're talking to. Because they're going to be like, oh, wow, that's a real sentence, first of all. Secondly, they have the intention of learning German. And this state of them not being able to speak it is only temporary. So they're going to really like you. Ich lerne gerade Deutsch. Also, makes you sound really natural. And I think for you, when you want to speak, I know that's how I felt. I wanted to sound relaxed and comfortable, even if I couldn't understand much. But I could at least communicate to them that I'm learning. And if you have a fully fleshed out sentence like ich lerne gerade Deutsch, gerade means right now. And it sounds like, wow, well, you already can. That's what they usually say. You have one sentence in the bag like this, and they're like, wow, you already speak German. It's like, thank you very much. I don't think so, but that's nice of you to say. Ich lerne gerade Deutsch. I'm learning German right now. Ich lerne gerade Deutsch. Deutsch is German. Deutsch is another very good word to know, but what good is it if it's not in a sentence? So, Someone might ask you, what's your favorite word? You might say, mein Lieblingswort ist bitte. And that's a good choice because it is a magic word. Mein Lieblingswort ist bitte. I think people will think that's really cute if you say that. So, herzlichen Dank. Thank you so much. Now, I don't want you to say this like, herzlichen Dank. No. You can't. You'll sound like a prince. You need to say, or princess. You need to say it with feeling, and you need to say it from your heart. If you don't, honestly, just say danke very rudely and very pretentiously and kind of entitled, and that will fit more your attitude. And at least people will be like, well, at least there's no big, huge contradiction for me to try and figure out here when you go, herzlichen Dank. I mean, like, you don't want to sound sarcastic. You don't want to sound half-hearted, especially when you're using this word, because herzlichen is referring to your heart. Herz is heart. So, herzlichen Dank. I'm telling you, this is what you want to study. I would do the Command Shift 4. Just do a quick screenshot of that. Boom. You got the screenshot. You're good. Now just learn these sentences. You're going to crush it. You need to have a bit of feeling. You have to really mean it when you say it. Herzlichen Dank. Ich hätte gerne eine große Apfelschorle. Now I'm doing you a favor here because I added in the size you want because they're going to ask you. Unless you specify ahead of time. Ich hätte gerne means I would like. Ich hätte gerne. So this is also this very passive way, like would like. What does that even mean? Would like. Well, I would like it if I could have it. It's nothing urgent. I would like one, but I don't need one. If I could trouble you for a large apple soda, I would like one, but I don't need one. It's politeness. It's very passive. It's very passive. That's the whole thing. Ich hätte gerne. Very passive. Eine große Apfelschorle. They have a word for apple soda, and it's Apfelschorle. Große, that means large. Ich habe etwas vergessen. Ich habe etwas vergessen. So now you're in the past tense. You say, I have forgotten something. In English, we tend to just say, I forgot. In German, you almost never, and with this verb, never use the simple past tense. Ich habe etwas vergessen. And something is etwas. Etwas is something. Das ist mein erstes Mal in Europa. This is my first time in Europe. Das ist mein erstes Mal in Europa. Time is Mal. Erstes is first. Mein, is mine. You can tell. Europa, self-explanatory. In happens to be the same. Das ist mein erstes Mal in Europa. So first, you can kind of see the RST. First, erstes. And Mal is the word you would really need to learn here. Mal is a time. Mal. Time. Deutschland gefällt mir. Deutschland gefällt mir. I like Germany. I like Germany. In this literal translation, it would be Germany pleases me. Germany pleases me. It's not a phrase, it's not the way we would say it in English. Maybe 200-300 years ago you would. I don't know. I kind of think you would probably be fine saying, yes, Germany pleases me. It's quite I don't know. But now we say I like it. And there's a way to say that too, but this is more correct. This is more the right way to do it. This is the way the people do it. They say, Deutschland gefällt mir, Italien gefällt mir, die Schweiz gefällt mir, Österreich gefällt mir. These are just countries where German is spoken, so I just figured you're not going to probably be able to say that so much. If you're in France, it's not going to do you a lot of good. But Switzerland, Austria, Italy all have substantial German-speaking populations. Germany has about 80 million German speakers, German natives, maybe 100, I don't know, 80 million. Yeah, that's the whole population, basically. And then Switzerland, they have a considerable number as well, probably over 1 million. I'm really not sure, but Österreich is another, Austria is another 10 million. Italy has 500,000. in northern Italy, in Alto Adige, also known as Südtirol. And I'm not really sure how many are in Switzerland, but, I would estimate at least 2 million, probably more. I don't know. I should look that up. But you'll notice Switzerland has this article, Die Schweiz. Sometimes a country will have an article in German. It's not an important thing to note right now, but the Philippines, of course, that's plural, so you kind of need an article. You can't just call it Philippines. But yeah, that's the same idea where it has an article. The Philippines, technically, the United States has an article. The United States. So that's it for the first video. I think there will be probably 10 to 20 of these videos, and I really recommend listening to it again. And what you can do in order to listen to it again is download the podcast, because then you don't have to sit on your YouTube screen skipping ads and being annoyed by YouTube, or the fact that you can't, remember back in the day when you could turn your phone, close the screen, and then put it in your pocket and still listen to YouTube videos? And then they made that only available to people who subscribe to YouTube Red or whatever it is. I don't think they still even have YouTube Red, but if you get YouTube Premium and pay a subscription fee to YouTube, you don't already have enough subscription fees for your life. But yeah, you can just listen to the podcast, because repetition really, 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 and I repeat, really helps you learn. This is the key to learning. So just listening to it, you've already seen it once, maybe listen to it 2-3 times, come back, watch it one more time. You're really going to absorb a lot. And these are the things, these nuggets are going to be like seeds that, create fruit trees, which create fruit, which create more seeds. Your knowledge is just going to proliferate. And I really think this is the start that could really help you learn very quickly. That's what I think. I felt like I learned pretty quickly, but if I had this, I felt like I could learn even more quickly. So this is for my friends and family and people who are like me, who like to listen to me talk, who want to learn German. And if you're someone who likes to listen to me talk, then you'll probably like my explanations, hopefully. I mean, by the time you finish this video, you already know if you're going to want to watch the next video or not. So there's almost no point in me saying to like and subscribe. And if I see you next time, you already know you'll see me next time. Peace.